Hello again guys and welcome back to my channel. Have a happy new year, successful 2020 and a very prosperous new decade. So guys, in this video I will talk about the challenges and my overall general impressions of playing LEI in Tekken 7. I'm going to focus on three key points here. The initial phase of learning the character. I have played this character for a little less than a week now. The challenges of competing with this character and adaptation in mid games with this character, Lei Wulong in Tekken 7. So before I go into that, I would like to make a couple of clarifications. I'm not the most consistent Tekken player, but I have played Tekken in some way, shape or form since Tekken 2 days onwards, and I have played Tekken quite a lot in the past. I used to participate in tournaments with him in Tekken Tag 1. I used Lei and Jin and Lei and Ogre and things like that. So I had some experience with the character in previous games, but I really haven't played him a lot in Tekken 7. I just did a couple of like hours of just basic training mode with this character after he was released. I consider, by the way, the fact that he wasn't in the initial roster not very good, because he's an iconic character, guys. He's the most interesting, like traditional kung fu martial arts character in any fighting game. He's, for example, in my opinion, much more interesting than Brad Wong in Dead or Alive, for example. He has 13 stances, guys. He has 13 stances. He has countless amounts of transition in between stances. He's a very complicated but interesting character. So now I'm going to talk about the process of learning this character specifically in Tekken 7. My impressions. What I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about these points from the perspective of a new player and what I believe is again from the perspective of someone who is trying to at some point compete with this character specifically, with Lei Wulong in Tekken 7. Okay? Now, first point, learning the character from a beginner's perspective. Now, I have some legacy knowledge from the previous games about how to transition from, for example, from snake to dragon to tiger, or to panther to crane. Like, I have seen all of these stuff and I have done them in previous games, but even I have a kind of difficult time to getting used to the on the ground stances, like knockdown, play that and stuff like that. And the main reason is that for example, with down 3+4 you get into the knockdown stance, like what you just saw. You have a combo starter there with 3, but if you are back turned, guys, back turned is a stance for Lei Wulong, like with a couple of other characters. So from back turn, in order to get into the normal knockdown stance, you have to press down 2+3, okay? So all of the, or maybe I should say 4 of the total of 5 stances on the ground, I consider the low snake to be a ground stance. All of the 4 down stances are changing if you are back turned, so that's not an easy thing to get used to. And if you pair that with the transitions in the different stances and in the animal stances, if you're a new player, you have a big initial task in front of you. Now, guys, oftentimes when people are giving advices in Tekken, they're not really considering what characters do you, or what character is the beginner trying to learn. There is a big difference in which character a beginner player is trying to learn, okay? So there's a big difference between Xiao Yu, Lei and Law compared to like Paul, Jack, and Negan, for example. Okay, so if you're a new player and you want to pick Lei Wulong, please just be aware and comprehend the basic fact that if you want to play games against other people, you're going to lose a lot in the beginning, guys. Like, there is no other way for me to say this. Like, you will need a lot of time to really get used to the stances, to get used to the transitions in the different stances, and to my next mini point on this, like, getting used to the combos also takes some time. Okay, the combos are weird. The wall carry is weird. Uh, there is a lot of like distance issues in my opinion. Like, I still miss a lot of the combos that are ending with forward 3-4. And if you want to get some of the Oki situations in which Lei has plenty in the mix, it gets really complicated with the combos. Okay, now on the other hand, if you're an advanced player, if you're someone who has like experience with competing in this game with other characters, for example, you can play 3 or 4 other characters, and you have a training partners who are very good at the game and stuff like that. Even in that scenario, however, you're going to need at least, in my opinion, something like 2 weeks to feel comfortable with this character. Like I said, if you're new to Lei but you're not new to Tekken 7. For example, I consider myself new to Tekken 7, but I'm not new to Tekken overall, and I kind of have experience with Lei, but in the form that I am right now, I would never use this character in a tournament before I have at least 2 more weeks of experience with him. Okay, so the next point is about actually competing after you have learned the character, whether or not you're a beginner or a advanced player. The next point that I'm going to give here like goes for pretty much everyone, and I want to preface this by saying this is only my personal opinion and you are free to disagree with it, of course, but I think that whether or not players are beginner or advanced with Lei after they have learned to control him, I mean, most of the time Lei players lose with this character even in a high level of competition because they get too trigger happy YOLO with the stances, guys. Once again, this is only my opinion, but I can probably, if I had a penny every time I have seen someone lose a round or a match with Lei because they went into a razor rush into a stance into a hit without really the need to, or they have like got a little bit greedy with a longer combo that is very difficult to begin with, or they just wanted to do a sneaky low from Tiger without really the need to do that. Like, I would buy a freaking plane. Okay, so a lot of people are losing with Lei because they are getting a little bit overboard with the stances. That's the impressions that I got from watching a lot of replays of players with this character. So here is what that means for you. Once again, whether or not you're a beginner or advanced player. If you're someone who gets on tilt because they lose, this is the most important point in the whole video in my opinion. If you're someone who gets on tilt easily because they lose from their own mistakes, you probably should reconcile with your inner demons before using Lei in any serious competition, guys. Like, I know that it's frustrating to lose to players that you would otherwise beat with your quote unquote main character. For example, if you're trying to uh, train a pocket lay and sneak up on somebody in a tournament, and you just end up losing the first game in the first two, and then having to switch, but you're still frustrated from the last game, you probably shouldn't use this character to begin with. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. Like, it requires a certain amount of mental and specific just personality traits for you to play this character and taking the time to learn him while you lose games and sets and rounds here and there. I hope you can understand what I mean here, okay? I'm gonna give quick two examples here. So Furumizu from Japan is much better Tekken player than me. He's much better LEI player than me. But by watching him play LEI recently, he plays Paul much more nowadays. But he's a player who is too trigger happy with the stances. I firmly believe that. I don't know why, but I think that he loses a lot of rounds and a lot of games because he goes into the stances too much. On the other hand, Ashan Ali from Pakistan, I apologize if I don't pronounce his name correctly, he's much more like solid LEI player. He plays, in my opinion, overall better. He's overall the best LEI player that I have seen so far. But I would say that he's sometimes too conservative with the stances. The truth is somewhere in between. And if you can like adapt to the playstyle of the opponent and use the stances correctly, you're going to create a lot of discomfort and difficult time for your opponent to get a hold of what's going on, because LEI is a very difficult character to lab against. Like, if someone isn't familiar with the abilities of this super complicated character, he's probably not going to adapt in the games. He's probably going to just press buttons whenever he sees some complicated stances and like transitions and stuff like that. So if you know how to counter this, you're probably going to win against players. And most players, even some of the like serious competitors, probably don't have a lot of experience against these characters, so you can use that to your advantage. Now, the last general point before we wrap this up will be about adaptation, guys. So like before, I'm going to separate this in two categories: beginner and advanced players. Like, if you're a beginner player, just try and play solid with LEI. Like I said before, don't go overboard with the stances. You're going to just lose to players who don't respect your options and your stances and are just pressing buttons. You're going to lose to them. This is what's going to happen. Don't try and play too out of whack. And when you develop confidence and when you have more experience with the game, then you can just use more diverse set of options with LEI without actually suffering some of the consequences of players who are just don't care about your Indiana Jones style theatrics and are just willing to shoot you with the gun, if you get what I'm saying. But if you're an advanced player and if you have a firm control over the character, I think that behind all of the complexities and stances and transitions that LEI has, there lies a character that can really accelerate the abilities of a player who is good with mind games, guys. I think that really, if you can control the character well, if you can correctly detect what type of mix-ups and what types of stances and transitions are going to work against a certain type of player, if you can detect that in the middle of the game and you can just start doing this elaborate mind game without like shooting yourself in the foot. This character can really help you just overall confuse your opponent and make him hesitate with his options and make him just uncomfortable playing against your lane. This is my opinion about this character. I would really like to get to the level that I can do stuff like that, but I surely cannot right now. And I hope that this information overall helped you. Now, lastly, I would like to just give a little bit of shout outs to certain players that are good with lei and that will help you learn the character if you want to take him a little bit more seriously. Now, there is a YouTuber called Old Times. He has a lot of tech with lei and a lot of useful information. Please check him out. He also had this very hilarious and interesting set against the main man recently, where he played against the main man when the main man used Leroy. It was very funny and interesting to watch. Also, like I said, Furumizu from Japan, he's a very solid lei player. There is also Ashan Ali, who has very amazing sets against Arslan Ash from Pakistan, against other very good players from Pakistan. There is a set against a Marduk player that was really interesting to watch. There is also Help Me from Korea, who, from what it seems, uses lei from time to time. He's, in my opinion, the closest to the lei player that I would like to be. He uses a lot of his options, but he's not going too overboard with them. And you can also check the American players called I can remember right now only one. Pepper Beef Too Spicy was his name, I believe. And I can't really name any other player from the US that uses lei right now. Sorry, I just blank on it. And the other player that I can name, he's from Italy. He's not very well known in the West, I believe. His name is just Frog. Okay, just type Frog lei player on YouTube and he's gonna pop out somewhere. He's also a very good lei player, in my opinion. I would train with lei a little bit more and show you a couple of matches at some point later, in which I'm going to just comment the matches and what's going on there. Thank you for your patience for watching this video, and I hope my analysis on lei and my general opinion was interesting for you to hear. If you have any impressions and opinions on this, please share them down in the comment section below. Once again, guys, have a successful 2020, and I will see you again real soon. Thanks for watching.